Hello, it's KRBrickBot, and ever since I've discovered the Chinese robot toy line rabbit hole in 2020 with the official import of localized, I just had more consideration and options to be tempted with. I'm a Korean Transformer reviewer guy, I'm not the Chinese reviewer guy, so I'm trying to limit myself to just the Korean toys, unless they are in some way related to Korean toy lines, like this is the old form of this character, which is kind of knocking off this design, for example, of this localized character. So as a general rule, I'm really not going to be reviewing and importing completely China original robot toy lines unless they're brought over and localized and sold in Korea. A Chinese toy line was localized and sold in Korea. Yes, this thing is called Iron Knight's Raiden. Which, if you don't know already, this is actually Glory Alliance. Some interesting Chinese robot toy line that are basically headmasters. I don't know why they redated a completely different name, Iron Knight Raiden, like that's a Japanese Raiden for thunder, so they're just Chinese brand kind of imitating the Japanese brand in Korean. What? Glory Alliance has been around for a while. Some collectors sing good praises of it. I didn't really take any attention at all. But then, bring it to Korea and I suddenly get all interested. There's a total of 13 toys right out the gate. So this company is David Toy. Where I did actually realize they actually brought over the Space Deleter and Giant Saber toys. I've seen those on the shelves several years ago. This just seems like some sort of other Power Ranger thing, but pretty interesting. I guess I gotta go at it like one character at a time. 2 toys at a time. One of the large action figure that turns into light up head, and then one of the main vehicle in head. Just to get a good look at the character design that's kind of really simplified when it's really shrunk. And also an ancillary thing that Mr. Bolt Matrix didn't cover. And then I'm probably going to tease something later. First, we're going to look at Pulis's box. Yeah, I mean, it's not directly police, it's just a Pulis. Interesting way to sell it, and then there's a cross-sell of all the other members. It's a very shiny metallic box. It's metallic all around, all shiny metallic. How much more cost does the inking go into this? You have very smooth textures, and here it is, it's like all sort of shiny. This button on the forehead, they call it the pendant. To light up the eyes, and the little display stand, and then the battle weapon. A little display stand in the box here too. Instructions on how to change the LR41 batteries. Right here, there's a February of 24 GA series, the Glory Alliance. 200 million won invested in product liability insurance subscription. Unboxing. I don't know, this plastic insert kind of feels a little cheaper than usual. I mean, that's not supporting any weight. Oh, that's so flimsy. There's a little product number there. What is this? This is for your cardboard stand. Where's the back half of the thing? It's flexing out. Okay, let's see. Yeah, let's just take this out. Oh, I see. You're supposed to just insert that into the back by yourself, do-it-yourself customer service. Why didn't they do that already? And is that the best way to hold it? Just slot them all on the back, and then you're just gonna have that little kind of flapping out like that. And then, yeah, maybe you should, cut the tape off of these flaps to kind of spread it out more, because that's what you would usually do with these type of things. It's a graphic of a console with the characters off to the side. That's maybe would have preferred that to not have the characters. That's my opinion. On the back, yeah, it's a nice lineup of all the characters. Oh, I see. The Iron Knight's Raiden is just kind of spread in the background there, including here, and it's kind of hard to read. You only see like O-N-N-I-H-G. Okay, it's hard to read, but that's an interesting style. So honestly, a Korean kid who's played with high quality Korean toys a while might be a bit of a surprise when they feel that this plastic feels different. It doesn't feel as good as the Korean plastic. It's more of a matte plastic, not the shiny kind. Yeah, it really does feel like the kind of cheaper plastic Transformers uses, Hasbro. And there's a stray sprue mark there, so that's a bit of a quality slip. Yeah, I guess that's a fine silver paint. I mean, maybe it looks a little thin on the layer painting there. Somewhat swirly gray plastic, metallic plastic there. Yeah, this is a kind of metallic swirliness. I'm not concerned about DPS or anything, just observation. Maybe the paint is okay. There could be some slip-ups, or maybe it's a little underwash, or maybe a little bulge, or some gunk that could get stuck on there. Well, yeah, that is the humanoid head sculpt, you know, the type of head sculpt with the eyes, nose, and mouth. Although that mouth is kind of hard to see there, but it is there. Little antenna and a red forehead thing. The colors kind of evoke Mega Man. His battle weapon is this sword thing, which is a deployed gun, according to the show. I mean, so maybe a bit of a shame. There are two separate pieces because it's a pretty monochrome piece that's too small to have a hinge part. Yeah, it also has a flashing sprue there. Yeah, so you slot that into the hole there, it just kind of loosely fits. Doesn't shake out easily, but it kind of does if you do it too much. That is a not 5mm hand, that's slightly smaller. Articulation, the head is at a nice ball socket swivel, a double hinge joint for transformation, so you can do the head bobbing. Ball socket all around, then transformational back butterfly, a bicep swivel, lower bicep swivel, elbow bend 90, full wrist swivel. All the way forward, all the way backward, forward backward. Nice splits, thigh swivels. More than 90 knee, and then a nice ball socket foot that can go down that much, and then forward that much, and then angle tilt that much. It has quite a good amount of posability for action figures this scale. It's really only missing the waist swivel because that forms the alternate mode, this shape. These are human-sized robots, so they'll fit right in with the 6-inch figures, your Marvel Legends or G.I. Joes. And here's how one of Korea's Mini-Force head cops compares. In good faith, one could comment, this is similar to the Mini-Force head cops. In bad faith, someone might just brashly say, oh, I can't believe this Ironized Raiden is ripping off Mini-Force, when that's actually not true because they came first, Glory Lions came first, so technically, Mini-Force Super Cops is ripping off Ironized Raiden, but that's not true because they're both technically ripping off the Transformer Headmasters. I mean, the point is that, you know, the term knockoff is just overused, overgeneralized. So as the few numbers tuning into the brand new show airing saw, for the very first season of Iron Knight's Raiden and for the very first time ever, Pulis and the other main three, for some reason, were in a slightly different body in the first 2 episodes. Honestly, it's kind of hard to tell like what changed between those old forms, their new forms. It's a very busy type of robot design. For the transformation, first you have to take this off. This is a parts forming thing, unfortunately. On those pretty thin tabs, yeah, that's gonna be a bit of a hazard for kids. They could easily snap these off on this cheaper toy manufactured by Dison or Dison. And there's a little tab for the LR41 batteries in here, so I'm gonna yank that out. Then we'll figure out how this button works. Yeah, so head back, fold those back, arms on this cavity. Yeah, you see the little holes here on his arms, just kind of tuck them right onto the holes on his little pelvis here. Okay, careful. And then, yeah, just fold his legs back. There's a tab on his thigh that goes right into the arm here at an angle. Interesting angle. If you can get that right. There's another tab here that also fits in the back of the forearm here, the upper arm, the bicep arm. I guess the feet are kind of just hanging out there, then reattach these to the tab right on top of there. And then you can just slide it up for dramatic effect. Head mode. And then you put that on the display stand. It's a bit of an angle, like a clear insert. Gives it a bit of an effect there. Looks like there are these two tabs here, so that's where I assume you tab them right here. Head on a stand. Robot that transforms into head. That's a very novel concept, but once you get into there, you really only have a display play for this. There's not much play value in a head. It does have the light up feature. I guess if you press down right here. Whoa. Very nice LED eyes, and they kind of pulsate. The trigger is right in front of the chest plate, so just press the chest plate forward to activate and deactivate the light. You know what's pretty clever? That the entire midriff of the robot is the entire faceplate of the head. Just, yeah, you can't quite tell that is a robot face in there until you do that. And I guess in robot mode, that same function just kind of lights up a central clear plastic in his chest, kind of chest power up. Ignore the little glowing lights there. Well, then that doesn't look like really too much like the eyes of the head mode, so that's pretty subtle. Where does this battle weapon go? Well, there are holes on the bottom of the stand, so I assume you just plug it on here. And then it also came with this extra tool thingy. At first I thought it was some sort of display stand thing. It has a really cheap texture to it, like a cheaper toys, that rough texture, so I guess it's supposed to be some sort of screwdriver tool or a wedge tool, I guess, just to help the little hands to pull apart some of these parts, I guess. That's what it looks like, just an extra tool. Doesn't say anything about that in the instructions. Or maybe it has to do something with the battery cover. I figured out you have to pick at it from the top. Then just pinch your fingers there to access the 3 little batteries. Probably also good for removing those batteries. Head-on-head action. They're gonna be butting heads. Who can keep their head in the game? At the very least, the head mode does give a visual representation of how a Transformer would scale with the 6-inch action figures. Yeah, just imagine this thing just peering at them. This giant thing like peering at them from looking down on them. Imagine the giant body this would entail. Okay, now to get to his main body. Strike Pulis. TV animation. It just says TV animation. It has a TV animation. It's all the metallic box. I guess the illustrations of the actual toy are just slightly less metallic, but still kind of shiny. Yeah, there's the head mode there. Ah, now I can see the pixels on this thing. This was not upscaled properly. It's kind of hard to do that. Yeah, there's the English name there. Strike Pulis and Pulis transformation. Deploy combination. The Pulis car includes a display stand. And there's the lineup of the other 4. That's all shiny. That's all February 24. Sometimes these things are just easier to unbox on the bottom. Yes, that's still super flimsy. Super flimsy tray on that same kind of display stand, the same style. Yeah, that's kind of warping already, so the holes are already falling out of this thing. You just punch in and slide in there. Why isn't it already inserted like that? That also feels pretty flimsy, so you gotta be careful with this. Yeah, that's just a bigger version of that other smaller display stand. It's the computer HUD with the other characters on the side. So this is Strike Pulis, a blue police type robot that's a 6-wheeler and very long, stylish, kibbly skirt flaps. I mean, if you're gonna have kibble, you let's make them stylish. I guess there are lots of angles to it. Just, you know, more the mecha style angles, just are sort of hard angles, just the more general trapezoidal shapes all around. The metallic swirly blue and the flame yellowish yellow, along with the mechanical gray, I think that's a good color combination. And this is all plastic. This is all plastic inserts, including the clear red here. As far as I see, there is no paint on this thing. It's a signature of not Korean toys to have the plastic inserts rather than plastic paint. Really, I think the only place where I see any paint is just it's just in the head, just for the eyes and little accent details. So that's pretty impressive. They get really budget cut to give it color on the plastic. So one thing I'm really not a big fan of with these Iron Knights Raiden heads is just they look a little long. They look like a little long-faced, even with this bigger head. So basically, the main thing that makes them look a little weird is just the legs. Just the legs are right under there, and they just kind of extend the look. Just kind of look a little awkward just with the hips exposed like that. Yeah, so maybe if those legs could fold away or be hidden, then maybe this would look a bit better. But even in the animation model, it looks like he has like a shorter faceplate, or maybe that's just the perspective angle here. But I feel like this faceplate should be just a bit shorter. Yeah, just a long faceplate and then the long legs is kind of doesn't make the head mode as appealing. Yeah, so that's not the most show accurate. I don't know, it would be better if this thing could, just completely hide the legs by completely slotting into the vehicle, sacrificing neck articulation. This is how they engineered such a toy thing in the legs. So when the G1 Headmasters mostly did not have that problem since the legs were in the back of the head. Although that did leave just an entire obvious robot face backpack, but it was pretty simple. It was simple and innovative enough. While this is a bit more complicated, I guess a bit more posable. Maybe that's some merit going for that. Like the functionality versus the looks. Let's look at the accessories. This revolver that looks like it's a barrel revolver. A barrel gun without a barrel in it. And then a bigger barrel gun. They had a consistent cylindrical here. It doesn't tell you the instructions, so you have to figure this out yourself, but they do fit into... I suppose it's easier just to clip right in there if you can. Put that in. There is no trigger finger. Oop. Yep, plastic hinge, so it holds, but it's a bit of a loose grip. It's not that loose, but if you jostle it wrong, it easily comes out. For the articulation, a nice head swivel. Intentionally limited movement. Nice ratchets where you can see the ratchet there. I'm assuming these are like flexing plastic ratchets. They're nice and clicky, but I worry for their longevity, and that is intentionally removable, so that's a little annoying. Nice outward that much. Like nearly full outward. Those cable shoulders are mounted off to the side on the shoulders, so that does give full outward movement. Like a pretty hard friction on this upper elbow, and then ratchet on this lower elbow, and then bicep swivel. Wrist. Yeah, that's one wrist here. That's a hinged wrist, and then the ball socketed wrist, and then the opening fingers. That's kind of good for sword wielding or like pistol holding. Ratchety waist swivel. ratchety forward, and then there's a skirt flap that's kind of just hinged on this one thing. It's a little awkward. Funny awkward. Double elbow, double knee. Yeah, with a nice filled in gap there, so that looks like a very natural knee bend. Nice ratchety thigh swivel all the way around, and then ball socket. No, that is a heavy ball socket there. And then toe in, toe down. Yep, this is an incredibly posable transforming robot sold in Korea. Leader size. Transformation to car mode. Head off. And then also the siren lights off. Rotate around. Yeah, I guess turn around the other way instead of like directly this way. You have to turn it around like 270. Let's get started with the legs first. Yeah, I guess you just kind of feel that you just kind of have to collapse the back heel and the front foot together. Just gonna click it on that one clicker. Double hinge that down. This is a sliding joint. Then you like double unfold those kibble panels. Click those in on those little clips. Those look like pretty thin clips. And before you close that back, you have to first tuck in the arms, which have the connecting holes on the outside of them, so you turn the whole bicep around and then tap them into the waist here. And also make sure, yeah, the panels of the truck light up as these shoulders like slide in. Yep. What did I not line up here? Double bend the elbow and then put that in. Once you tap in those just right, then you can fold that cable panel over to cover all of them. Yeah, there's a hole here on the heel and there's a little peg here, so be sure to match that up. And then make sure to try to tab that into the central block here. Oop. And then those little tabs there, they just kind of rest there. I don't think they would exactly click in. Alright, once you fiddle that in, then I believe this front chest here that just slides in there to kind of fill in the gap there. Next the bumper. Then rotate the skirt flap hole 180 to give it more clearance. The siren lights that were the chest, just tab right on there. And then yeah, it gets weapon storage right here. Yeah, so just it's a very small version of the bigger figure. Same with the tiny little parts forming back piece. And it says you are supposed to unclip this and then you can attach it to the back here on this peg, but I don't know what happened here because that's not connecting. I think the early samples might have had a different mold where you could actually square that in, but you can't here, so what happened? How are you supposed to keep it together? Well, I don't know if they intended it, but I guess you just have to take this tiny little tab here, just put in that peg hole over there. Yeah, so now it all stays together. Just a little plug there. Oh, that was very complicated for a supposed kid's toy. That's lots of intricate tabbing together and lots of Play-Doh factor kind of got squishing together, getting into specific spots. This really did feel like more like an advanced collector's Transformers toy. Like a Studio Series figure where you really had to do a whole lot of panel flipping and then intricate specific order of parts to make sure they all get together. And they had to overlap, and then you had to put some parts in the first place first, otherwise they won't go in, and then all sort of that, kind of like that, but on a slightly lower level, but it's still very similar to these kind of Studio Series toys, which may be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your preferences. So, the end result is this six-wheel, like, police SWAT vehicle, like a futuristic SWAT vehicle with Very squeaky wheelies. And yeah, not the totally flush transformation, so that's it. Whack. What happened here? What? Oh no! What? Did I lose on the way? Where did that go? Where did this go? Where did this go? Oh dear. Yeah, you can see a big swath of clear red, like maybe a big red energy bar. Some vents in the back, and then obvious robot feet. No sign of obvious doors, but yeah, this is a very futuristic looking kind of car. Well, at least this is a uncommon type of police vehicle. For an all-new series being introduced in Korea for the very first time, you think they would go for something more conventional, like a sporty police cruiser, where we only saw in the first 2 episodes, and all you need to know is the gang just existed on Earth for an indeterminate amount of time. There is no instance of them first arriving on Earth and then scanning civilian Earth vehicle modes, which he did a second time with a red car for some reason, and there are no physical representations of those, especially the one-off red version. So this little Pulis figure is a nice tiny little version of this Pulis figure. Of course, much simpler in paint, and only a few smatterings of the flame yellowish orange paint. I mean, the fact that it doesn't go all the way across the chest crest is a little bit of a shame. Yeah, completely blank head. But for a tiny mini figure, it does have some posability, like a ball-socketed head, limited ball-socketed shoulders, elbows, closed hinge elbows, and a bicep swivel like that's closed. Then swivel outward, knee. That's a pretty articulated, tiny little figure. Yeah, so that's nice to see. But of course, you see the visible eyes there because you can't exactly slide that tiny little thing, and then I suppose it's close to typical Transformer scale. Is this close enough? Yeah, yeah. Of course, this doesn't scale right exactly. It's a different scale of headmasters. Yeah, I guess it's just a tiny bit bigger than 132 because yeah, this police car is bigger than 132. And then, which this little guy cannot interact with it anyway, unfortunately. Like, no standing on here, no cockpit to ride in. So yeah, he's just off to the side while you have his vehicles. You have to be careful not to misplace this guy. As with this revolver, there's no place to plug that thing in either. You think they would? Unless there's like a leg storage. Just kind of finesse the leg storage in there. Yeah, but there's a bit of oversight. You have 2 loose accessories in vehicle mode. And then this thing that keeps falling off. Yeah, you can see a big swath of clear red, like maybe a big red energy bar. Some vents in the back, and then obvious robot feet. No sign of obvious doors, but yeah, this is a very futuristic looking kind of car. Here's the Pulis car next to a 130 BMW. If that's close enough. So, this was a pretty new experience. Like, this, what is like technically a Chinese toy imported to Korea. So it's quite a noticeable differing level of quality. Yeah, this is much more complicated, it's much more intricate, much more fiddly, and also maybe feels a little thinner. Which might be a bit of a problem for the intended target audience, like even if 6 and up. But even the 6 and up, even 3-year-olds, like you try to do the 6 and up toys. So yeah, this is very much for the big kids. This also feels kind of thin. It's not like super cheap plastic, but it's still a little thin. So if some kids try to pull it apart the wrong way, I mean, these things would break easier than the typical Tobots and such. So have to be really careful with this. Unless you're like a big man, then you know what to look out for. But kids don't think about that, so they could easily snatch this off, which could result in a lot of exchanges or a lot of calls to the David Toy A&S Center. So at least they have that to fix up your toys, but for as long as they can sustain it. And if this is what the very first Iron Knight's Raiden toys are like, I can't imagine what the previous non-existent seasons toys were like. Those designs only seen in the first 2 episodes that were just only in animation because, you know, Iron Knight's Raiden is season 2 of Glory Alliance. Enough with the pretending, I knew that. Bit odd, yet Iron Knight's Raiden just starting off with Glory Alliance is season 2, so it's just skipping over season 1 and all the cool vehicles and combinations and simple basic backstory that season could have provided. So the new kid audiences are just being dropped right into season 2. Hopefully there's enough context for that. I can only imagine how confusing the new kiddies it would be, you know, seeing Iron Knight's Raiden presented like that. So of course the collectors who took an interest in the Headmaster Glory Alliance already gave their thoughts and, you know, collected these. So just for any outside collectors, the China AliExpress is just the way to go for getting these, because I think there really is no good reason to get specifically the Korean Iron Knight Raiden version unless it's for the packaging. This flimsy ass cheap packaging. And these large head figures, they are good action figures on their own, and in some cases they might be just more fun to handle than the big fiddly bots. Obviously, this is not going to be as appealing as the transforming bots, but you have this option in case you just want a good figure of the main lead. So next time, I'm going to look at both toys of the other character that Pulis is often paired with.